Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Souls on Fire. I'm your host Brittany, and I'm really excited you're here with us today. If you've been following along from the beginning, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm sending you the biggest welcome hug. If you're ready to live a life full of purpose and passion, you're definitely in the right place. Here at Souls on Fire, we talk about overcoming the darkness in your past and present experiences and how we got out of them and how we are now living a passionate and purposeful life. We all have dreams and desires inside of us for a reason. And before we get started with today's content, I just want to ask you one quick question. Are you just getting by in life, or are you actually living your life with your soul on fire? So friends, welcome back to Souls on Fire. I am so excited for today. I say that I'm so excited for every single episode, but truly I am, because every episode has a special twist to it. And today I have the absolute pleasure of having one of my favorite people in the world on this show today. And before I was getting ready for the show and before I was preparing and getting her on the show with us, I asked God, I said, God, there's going to be a lot of people that listen to the show and they don't know this girl. What do you want the people to know about this girl? And he said a couple things to me, and I jotted it down, and I put a big circle around it, guys. She is one of the biggest Christian influencers I know. She has the most bubbly personality I've ever known. And I think the biggest thing, the most important thing that I love about this girl, and I know that you are going to love about her as well, is she's so compassionate, and she is the biggest giver that I know. She will devote her time to the Lord. She will devote her time to helping others and really just building solid relationships. She is honestly the queen of relationships. Guys, like I said, I have the absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited, and I'm really expectant for today, and I want to introduce to you my very best friend. Her name is BRANDI WEBBER, and she is my rock. She is my everything. She is one of the reasons that Souls on Fire exists. And I'm going to let her tell a little bit about herself and what she does. But before I do that, I just want to say that because of this girl, this is one of the reasons that Souls on Fire exists. So without further ado, guys, I want to welcome Miss BRANDI WEBBER to the show. BRANDI, thank you so much for coming on with us today, and thank you so much for sharing what you're going to share today. I'm really expectant. And before we get started kind of into today's content, I would love for you to tell the audience just what you do and a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, oh my goodness, I am like holding back tears right now. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Everyone, Brittany is incredible. She is absolutely amazing, and I am so grateful and so honored to be here. It's so exciting getting to do this with my best friend. So I feel like I'm in a pinch myself moment of, is this really happening? But yeah, my name is BRANDI, and I am the creator of Lady Boss Christians is what it's called. And basically my heart is to help encourage ladies to pursue their God-given dream, and to boldly walk into it, and to boldly know who they are and find who they are in Christ rather than in the world. Just look for validation in Christ rather than in the world. So it is such a pleasure to be here, and I am, just like Brittany said, I am so expectant about what we're going to talk about today, and I cannot wait to dive into this.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love that you said a God-given dream, because I think a lot of times in this world, and I think that you and I can both testify to this, before we became Christians and before we got saved, that we really just looked to other people for validation, and we didn't look to God, and we weren't living a life with our soul on fire, and we weren't living with intention, and we weren't living with purpose, and we felt like we didn't have a mission in this world. BRANDI, how is it different now from, being a Christian and what you're doing now to, like, what you were doing before? Like, do you feel like you're really living your God-given dream? And how did you do that? How did you come across this mission that you are a part of today?
That is honestly such a great question, and I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately of what was my life like before I was a Christian. And from a young age, even when I was a kid, I knew that I loved Jesus. I didn't know really who he was, but I knew that I loved him. And then as time went on, and from a young age, that's probably when I was like, I don't know, I want to say under 10, so super young. And then time went on, and I kind of got away from that. And the best way, honestly, that I can describe it is there was just a hole in my heart, and I was trying to fill it. And, I tried to fill it with material things. I tried to fill it with performance and, like, doing my best in business and performing for everyone, performing and getting everyone to like me, not really knowing who I truly was. And now that I'm on this walk with Christ, and now that I am a Christian and pursuing the Lord in a way that I never have before, that hole is gone. There's just, it's like a hole in my heart was filled after saying yes to Jesus and just walking in this walk. And the thing about Christianity is it's not always sunshine and rainbows. I think a lot of people think that it is, but it says in the Bible that we are more than conquerors in Christ. And with that being said, in order to be a conqueror, you have to have a battle. So that's just really where the difference is of, even when I'm going through a hard time, even when I'm going through a battle, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I know that God is hand in hand, arm in arm with me as I fight through that battle. And he has never left or forsaken me. So that is really the difference of going into the battle a few different ways. First off, knowing that Christ is there with me. And secondly, going in with the mindset of it's already won. Like, spoiler alert, the devil doesn't win in the end. And when I first started having battles and was a pretty new Christian, one of the things that I always did was, when I realized that mentally I was having a battle, and when I say battles, I don't just mean in person, but like mentally, or spiritually, anything like that. But when I first was a Christian and would get into these battles or realize that I was going through a tough time, in my head I was always just like, spoiler alert, the enemy doesn't win, God wins. Spoiler alert, God wins. And like, that's what I just kept on saying to myself over and over and over again. And then as far as what I'm doing, I truly do believe that it is what God has called me to do. Just looking at how much joy and happiness I have in my life, and the connections that I've gotten, and the friendships that I've made, and all of that kind of stuff has just been such a blessing. And that, like, how do I say this? My cup, I never feel like I'm pouring out of my cup or like I'm pouring out of an empty cup by doing this. Like, I've ran businesses where I'm just like, oh, I have to get up and I have to do this. And it was a drag to be in them. And now I'm like, yes, I get to get up and I get to work on this, and I get to go encourage these ladies. And by encouraging them, it's encouraging me even more. And it's just been such a blessing. And how I stumbled upon it actually is kind of funny. So back a year ago, it would be June of 2019, so in April, actually back it up to April of 2019, I realized that I was playing a comparison game a lot. And I was on social media playing the comparison game. And I was just like, you know what, God, I don't like this. You created me perfectly in your image. I don't need to be anybody else but me. And I could just tell that my thought process was not in the right spot whenever I got on social media. So I decided, I was like, I think there was a week between my birthday and Easter or something like that. But it was like, I'm just going to go on a fast from my birthday to Easter. So I went on a fast from social media, turned off all of my notifications for all of my social media outlets, put them on a screen that was not even my front screen. Like, I had this swipe 4 times over and put them in a folder, so they were very hidden. So I didn't think about it, and I was just like, God, I'm just going to spend this time with you. That's what I need. Like, I'm just going to fill up by spending this time with you. And I had kept it going for a while. The fast lasted longer. Like, I did go back and let myself get on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and I gave myself a certain amount of time per day. And in June, I was like, God, I really don't like social media. Like, I think I'm just going to delete my accounts completely. And he was like, no, don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And at that time, I was going through a difficult season with my business, and it was difficult in the fact of things didn't look the way I thought they should. I was trying to put God on my timeline, and I wasn't putting myself on God's timeline. So he actually had told me to reach out. I'm a part of these networking groups on Facebook, and he was like, see if there are any other ladies, because I'm just like, I need encouragement, and I need Christian women who are in business. Like, those are the 2 things that I need, because they're probably going to relate to what I'm going through, because I felt like God wasn't showing up in my business. So, yeah, long story short, I posted on one of the networking groups, or in a few of the networking groups that I was a part of. There was a huge response, and then God told me, he was like, create a page for that. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. So I created a page for it, and on the first day, there was 100 ladies that were on it, and then it's just grown ever since.
That is absolutely incredible. I seriously love everything that you said, and just as you're speaking, I wrote so many things down, and that God is just like, Brittany, you need to talk about this. And I think the biggest thing is you talked about a lot about like performing and finding your God-given dream. And what I loved about what you said is you said if you find something that you love, and if you're always happy about it and you get up every day and you're so excited to do it, you're never going to work a day in your life. And that is exactly how I feel with Souls on Fire. And friends, I just want to tell you today that I really hope that this inspires you and encourages you, because if Brandi can do it and if I can do it, you can do it as well, because we've been through these dark times. I mean, you've heard some of our stories. You've heard, specifically about the prisons that I've personally been in, and Brandi was also in a comparison prison as well. And something I want to tag off on what you talked about is you said the word battle. And right before we came on to record the show, Brandi and I were talking, and we got off the phone, and we were talking a little bit about the episode, and we were talking about trust. And I think that kind of goes with the battle and with what you were talking about. And I wrote down, trust the season you are in, and I put a big asterisk around it, and I circled it, because God definitely wants us to talk about that. And because I feel like Brandi and I specifically, and I know that there's other people like this, because it's really heavy on our hearts, that you really just have to trust the season that you're in. And sometimes it's really, really hard to give up that trust, as Brandi and I was personally speaking about. And do you just want to explain a little bit about trusting the season that you are in, and how you go about trusting and maybe giving up that trust to God and knowing that it is going to be okay?
Yeah, of course. I love that you bring that up. So that is one of the things that I'm definitely a work in progress on. But one of the things that I heard, I forget who said it, but they said that God rejoices in the process, and he's not worried about the destination. He's worried about the journey, because the journey is when, even at the destination you can be close with him, but he rejoices in that journey. He rejoices in that process. And the process doesn't always look like mountaintops. It can look like valleys. And no matter what, even through that, he says that he has never left nor forsaken us. So just holding on to that promise and holding on to who he is. He's never broken a promise. He's never broken a promise. And sometimes we can put our own spin on the promises, I guess is how I can say it. But just knowing that his plan is greater than my plan, and even in the temporary discomfort, he is still there with me. Like, I was thinking about it the other day, and